Hi there, everyone. I'm Michelle Pethley with Shelley's Wreaths and More, and today I'm going to be working on the Trendy Tree subscription box. It's their spring kit. The kit comes with everything you see here. It comes with the Hello Spring oval sign. It comes with the wreath form. Then it comes with these two meshes. Now my meshes, the rolls are smaller because I've already cut my the pieces that we need to make this wreath. And then in addition, it comes with these 4 ribbons, okay? 2.5 inch, one with daisies and one just plain yellow. And then 1.5 inch roll with green with white polka dots and a gray and white stripe. So again, these, you'll see they have pins in them because I've cut everything, trying to save us a little time. All right, so now that we know what we're going to be making from Trendy Tree, let's get started. What I like to do is I like to put 10-inch poofs on the top ring. And we'll do that with a tool that just measures 10 inches. And you can use a piece of cardboard if you don't have this. You can use a ruler. You can use your mat. You can use anything that you have that measures 10 inches. And even if it's not exact, don't worry about it. We're not going to, all you want to do is just make sure that all your poofs are consistent. So if they're the same height all the way around, you don't necessarily have to measure them at 10 inches. But let's get started. I'm just going to take out my mesh here. I'm going to pinch it together, kind of pleat it up together like this. And I like to attach it to the middle row. See, there's 3 rings. I'm going to attach my starting point to the middle crossbar with a zip tie, just to hold it in place while I put the poofs on the top ring. This is really just, you don't need to do this, but I like to do it. It gives me some sense of security that they won't be pulled out accidentally. All right, that's my starting point. Now let's get poofing. I'm going to just drop this to the floor. It's a little easier to pull it up. And it comes out straight. I'm going to start it just by putting it through this first tie. Just kind of holding our place. Give it a quick twist and you're ready to begin. Now I just take this measure tool, stick it at the very base of that first tie, put my hand at the 10-inch mark, and just put it in and give it a quick twist. Then just poof out your mesh. All right? Now, if you didn't have a measure buddy or measure tool, you could certainly go around and just make sure that your poof is just a little underneath the ties here. It's whatever you want to do. Or you can take and measure, put your tie base, which is right here, on a number. I'm going to line it up with 20. Let's go out to 10. Okay, which gives me 10 inches of mesh in between. And just put the poof in there, twist it down, and open it up. I can see that my shirt's going to be a little bit of a problem, so I'm going to just roll up the sleeves quickly. All right, so either way that you want to measure, the most important thing is just to try to keep them consistently level. That's all you'll need to do. However you want to achieve that exact measuring like I'm doing, or eyeball measuring, whatever you want to do, it's going to work out just fine. So we're just going to continue around the wreath. There's 8 ties on the top. We'll do all 8 real quick. And then we'll put our mesh in these ties. The reason I put the poofs on the top ring is it gives my wreath a little stability, a little extra stability to hold up my sign. When I put on the sign, it also will help if I want to add anything to the wreath in the way of flowers or, any kind of additional things that I would like to add. Sometimes there's curly ties that you want to add, or just to enhance your wreath. Having a little bit of extra mesh on the top row will definitely help hold them upright, as well as give you a little bit more places to glue to. And believe me, once this glue touches this, hot glue touches this mesh, it adheres pretty well. But again, it's just to give me a little bit of extra stability. Now I'm opening up that first tie that we just started on. I'm putting in my last poof there, giving it a twist. Now we've completed it, and I'm just going to cut off this extra mesh here. All right. And then with this tail of the mesh that we just finished with, I'm just going to use another zip tie and put it in on the wreath frame. Oops, can you see that? The same middle ring of the wreath frame. Again, just to hold it in place. And there we go. We've got our poofs done. Just trim this up. Trim up the tail here. Just a little bit. Took off a little extra mesh. And now we've got poofs on the top ring, and we're ready to start on the bottom. Now, I cut my mesh already, again, to save us some time. And I cut these to be about 28 inches, 28 to 30 inches. This snowball mesh, because I used it on the top, I wanted to make sure that I had enough. We needed 9 cuts of this. So I cut it pretty much like 28 inches between that and the poofs. That uses up most of the roll. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're just going to do a cruffle. And to do a cruffle, you start with a curl on one end. You scrunch up the middle to the other end and put a curl on the other. So I'm going to start here. Start on this end. We're curling in that cut edge, right? That way it minimizes the frame. And then we're going to scrunch right up the middle until we get to this second edge. We're going to curl it in on itself and then finish scrunching it up. So now we have a curl, a ruffle, and a curl. It's called a cruffle. Okay, now let's just put this in on the bottom ring and start there and just open it up. I like to turn my cruffle, which is how I just finished it, over and put it in to that tie, push down and twist. Give it a good twist, and then just open up the ruffle so it completes a circle. All right? Let's do that quickly on the, I'll do a couple more on camera for us. Okay, now I'm going to take the other mesh, do the exact same thing, pin it down with this. That way it's easier for you to see. Again, we're going to curl the cut edge on itself a couple of times, then scrunch up the middle. Till we get to this end, just curl this end onto itself like that. All right, curl, ruffle, curl gives you a cruffle. And I'll turn this over again, upside down, push it into that tie, and give it a twist. Okay, let's do a couple of more. All we're doing is alternating the patterns using the snow mesh one time, snowball mesh, which is this one. And then the next one is just plain value mesh. This is a gorgeous color. Let's just scruffle this, scrunch it all the way up. Now this mesh has a iridescent foil in it. This makes it give it a little shine. It's a very, very pretty mesh, okay? Push it into that next tie. Now, you don't have to turn yours over. If you want to put your cruffle in exactly how you made it, that's fine. Again, just be consistent. If you turn it over once, turn them all over. If you keep it upright as it's made, just keep it upright. Consistency is the key. Let's do one more. All right, you're just taking this edge, curling it onto itself a couple of times to make that curl, and also keep those cut edges inside that curl. Again, it's going to help minimize the fray. All mesh frays, no matter what kind, and the more you work with it, you'll realize that there are ways to kind of hide that cut edge, which is where that mesh is going to fray from. So I turn mine over. I'm going to put it right in there, that pine tie there, twist it, and then just open up the sides, expand them a little bit. All right, I'm going to finish the rest of the bottom row and I'll come right back. That I finished the bottom row, putting the cruffles on the bottom row, and I also started the top. So I have 4 more cruffles to put up on the top, and I'll do that quickly. Reinforce the method of the cruffle. We're just going to curl the first end, scrunch right up the middle by pulling with your fingers, pointer and Mr. Tallman. Let's keep it clean. You're just pulling that mesh to your thumb. I turn mine over, and on the top, I just open up the tie that's holding in the poof. I push that cruffle down onto it, same way that we did on the bottom ring. Open it up a little bit, and there you go. You don't have to worry, the mesh will, even though you're opening up the ties, they have pretty much, the mesh has a memory to it, meaning that it's going to stay in there. It's not going to spring out at you and ruffle or anything. So you don't have to worry. If you don't feel like opening them up, you do not have to. There's no right or wrong. It's just something that I've gotten used to doing. And so I just do it, you know, see it, opening it up, pushing it down into it. And that mesh from the poof didn't move at all. So I just go through, kind of pull up the poof in between there and on both sides of it. And then just 2 more. All right, let's cruffle this one again. Going to curl it on itself and just walk your fingers up, pulling that mesh to your thumbs that are skating behind, gliding behind. You're basically just accordion pleating this mesh. Just turn that one on top of itself, pull it together. Yeah, let's open up our last 2 ties up here. Oops. Again, I turn mine over, put them in, and just give it a quick twist. Get the poofs back in place. There we go. And this is our last one. I do this off camera just to save us a little time. Because making this wreath probably start to finish, for me, if I have everything prepped, probably would take an hour, maybe an hour and 10 minutes. And I know that your time is valuable, so I don't want to keep you here longer with this repetitive stuff. If we can save time there, then we can spend a little bit more time enhancing our wreath and maybe helping you in that area, inspire you to try to take this wreath, which is a beautiful kit from Trendy Tree, up to the next level. Okay, so our base is completely filled. You can see that it's nice and poofy. I'd say this is probably about 8 inches tall right now. So the next step that we're going to do is we're going to put on our tails. And actually, I'm going to back up 1 second. What I'm going to do is my overall design is going to be more oval. So I'm going to take and just give this wreath frame a little squish to make it a little bit more oval instead of totally round. So before I put my ribbon tails on, I'm going to just turn this wreath on its side. Okay. And I just pull that frame down just a little. Just to make it a little bit more oval. Turn it to the other side, do the same thing. You can pull it towards your body if you'd like. Squish it that way. Okay, but now can you see, oops, that it is actually more oval than it was round, okay? So now, let's put our ribbon tails in. I've cut our ribbon tails already. I cut to 13 inches. I've taken and cut, we have a total of 18 ties. I only put ribbon tails, I put them completely around the bottom and on only 6 of the top ones because the other 2 I call my bow zone, and I don't put any ties or ribbon tails in the ties that are in my bow zone. And I can explain this a little bit more in depth when we get to the top, putting them on. But right now what I've done is I've cut all of the ribbon at 13-inch lengths, and then I've taken and dovetailed the end. Okay, can you see that? The point of the 2. And all you need to do when you dovetail is you take your ribbon, you fold it in half, and then you cut on an angle from the fold up to the point, and it will give you these dovetails. And I can be more specific when we do our bow, make our bow, and I will show you exactly how that's all done. Now I've paired up the yellow ribbon 2.5-inch daisies with the green and white polka dot. And then I've paired up the gray stripe with the yellow, solid yellow. We're going to put each of these ribbons, 2 ribbons, in each tie, alternating between the 2 patterns. To do that, we're going to fold this in half. The reason I fold it in half is just to get the center part of the ribbon. Let's get a center measurement. We're going to scrunch up on that center crease. Push out the divots, okay? And then I like to open up my ties, even on this, during this process, and you push down the ribbon into that tie as far as it goes, and then give it a good twist because we're done putting things in these ties. So now our ribbons just need to be pulled, separated, and we just separate them and flare them out, okay? So that they lay out and you can see the pattern. Hopefully you can see that by alternating it, it's yellow, green, yellow, green. All right, so let's do the next one. Again, take the ribbon packet that we've made, fold it in half to get your center, and then just scrunch up the center, basically accordion pleat it. I push out the dimples, divots, dimples. If you're a golfer, you'd know the divot is the hole, the little indent, all right. And I open up that tie, push that ribbon down to where that tie meets, and then just open my ribbons again. Flare them out. And don't be afraid to give them a good tug to get them to lay where you want them to lay. And by pushing out that divot, they'll arc up and kind of flow over your mesh. Okay? And you will probably adjust these 100 times before you're done with this wreath. That's what every wreath maker ends up doing. Okay, let's do a couple more packets and then I'll do the rest off camera. Again, this is just repetition, but by doing it off camera, it saves us a little time, a little viewing time for you. Push in the divots, okay? Open up that tie. Again, if you don't want to open your tie, you don't have to. There's no right or wrong. It's just something I've been doing since I started making wreaths. And sometimes old habits are hard to break. Okay, so I'm just going to separate these so that the pattern, the colors are spread out. Okay, you can see on camera how that's. Okay. Now these ribbons are going to pick up the colors that are in the sign. That's pretty much the way that this kit was designed. You try to always pick the colors of the sign and just repeat those colors in the ribbons. So really your wreath attachment is kind of your guiding light as far as picking colors. Not only for the mesh, the color of the mesh, but the ribbons as well. And of course, any enhancements that you want to put in after you make the wreath are typically dictated by that sign, or wreath attachment. That's the importance of the wreath attachment. I'll do one more packet on camera, and then I'll complete the rest and come back to you, and we can see how to attach our sign, which will be our next step after this. I'm opening up my tie, pushing it down into it, and closing it back up. And just pulling those ribbons and spacing them out so that they fan out and cover a little bit of that mesh. Okay, so I'm going to finish the rest off camera. I'll come back as soon as I'm through putting them all on. Okay, so I have one more set of tails to put on, and I had to do some figuring as far as what I want this wreath, how I want it laid out. So let me just let you give you a look inside my mind real quick. As I put this last one in, I'll explain my thought process. Okay, so there we have our ribbon tails put in. All right, so as you can see, this is what I call the bow zone because I don't have ribbon tails in these two ties. And the reason that I don't have them here on the bottom of the wreath is because I thought what I would do is I would put my sign up more towards the top, not in the center as much, but more towards the top of the wreath, okay? Put a bow down here, and then I have some flowers that I have some buttercup flowers and some daisies that I thought I'd put between the bow and the sign so that I'd have some flowers in this area and then the bow right here. Now, if you didn't want to make your wreath oval, you can certainly keep it round, and you could put let's assume this is round, you could put the sign over here, you could put a bow there, you know, or a bow at the bottom. It's totally up to you, but I thought by making this an oval shaped wreath that I could put my sign up a little bit higher and then build out the bottom down here. Okay, so that's my thought, and that is also why I chose not to put the tails in these two, because that's where the bow and the flowers are going to go. All right, so what I've done is I've taken and I've put pipe cleaners on the back with staples. I have a staple gun that I use. They're 1/4-inch staples. I put the stapled them in, and then I covered them lavishly with some hot glue. This is to kind of hold the staples in place, give it just an extra amount of security, because sometimes you do end up pulling this pretty tightly. Okay, so I'm going to put my wreath sign there. Before I do, I wanted to just show you one little secret. When you oval out a wreath, all right, let's make sure I have, yeah. When you oval out a wreath, you can see that the places to attach, I'm just turning this over, the places to attach now are further. Now, the bottom of my sign is probably going to hit right about here, and there's nothing to put my pipe cleaners, attach them to, okay, because the rim is so far away. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take these extra long zip ties and I'm going to just zip them in together a little bit like that. Then I'm going to run these zip ties through the middle rim, the middle ring of the 3 there, okay, on both sides. And I'm going to pull this, zip tie this together, and also what I'm doing is not only am I keeping the oval shape, not that this wreath is going to suddenly go round again, but it also gives me, see, it gives it a little tension. And, all right, now this becomes kind of like a bar that I can attach my sign to. All right, let's just collect these off. So it's kind of multi-purpose. It's also going to give me a place to fasten the sign to when I put that sign up a little higher. Okay, so again, this is the bottom of my wreath because that's where my bow is going to go. I'm going to put this up towards the top of the wreath. I still want to have some ribbon tails showing up there, so I'm not going to pull it all the way to the top, but it's certainly not in the middle. If you look at it this way, it's not in the middle of the wreath. All right, now I have a little needle here. All right, this is basically a quilting needle, but it's plastic. All right, you can get them in metal if you want. I just happen to find these in plastic. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the pipe cleaner through that, and this helps me feed this pipe cleaner all the way through to the bottom of the wreath without too much trouble. You just pull it, and then the needle comes out the bottom, and then just take the needle right off, and you do it again with this one. This just makes it a little easier to get all this, the pipe cleaners through all the mesh that's up here. Now when I do put it through, I am making sure that I'm straddling with the 2 ties together. I'm straddling one of the wreath frame rings. Okay, I'll show you real quick. See, they're straddling the wire frame there. All right, and I'm not going to tie it too tight until I get all of them in the right place that I want. Now you will have to, of course, fix your ribbon tails. Some have to be found. This little guy was hiding. All right, now let's do the bottom one. All right, now this one I'm just going to feed right through the center because I'm going to catch that zip tie that I just put in there, that long zip tie across the back. That's where I'm going to attach this one. The bottom set of zip tie, of pipe cleaners. I'm just going around. I'll show you again. I brought it through and I attached it to the zip tie. All right. Okay, now let's do our side to sides. We're going to do this side first. Kind of get those tails out of the way. Again, I'm just threading the needle, pushing that zip tie. Pipe cleaner. Good golly, I can't remember that. Pushing that pipe cleaner, pulling it through with the needle. And then the other pipe cleaner that goes with this one is right here. So I'm going to thread this one and again push it through my mesh. And I'm making sure that this needle is coming on the other side of a rim, just so that there's a rim between the two ties. Okay. I just had to make a quick adjustment there, and there we go. Just going to twist it down, hold it in place. And once we're completely done with the wreath, I will take and cut those extra long tails of the pipe cleaner off the back. But I don't cut them too early, because if I change my mind or the design isn't working, or if I need to move the sign one way or the other, if you cut them too early, it's going to make it rearranging that sign a little difficult. Okay, I have one more to do, one more set. It's on this side, and I can see that my bottom tie is a little bit tighter than my top. So I'm going to adjust this tie here as soon as I'm done with this one, this set of pipe cleaners. I'm going to feed it through the mesh. And like I said, this, you don't need this needle, but it sure makes it a lot easier. I could spend, seems like hours, but it's probably a good 10 minutes struggling with the pipe cleaners, sometimes with these big, thick wreaths. So this needle has definitely come in handy. Okay. Here we go. Hold it down a little bit, pull it in from below. Okay, and I'm going to go back to our very first one that we put in, and you can see I'm just going to pull it just a little bit tighter so that the sign lays in there levelly. There we go. All right, so there we have it. And see, this is Trendy Tree always sends you such good kits. They're always just beautifully put together. You might hear my four-legged friend just came in. I have 3 dogs, and it seems like my female dog is my Shadow. I should have named her Shadow, but she's with me all the time. I don't mind, really, till she starts barking because she wants a treat or something. Then you may hear me cut out real fast just so that I avoid that. Alrighty, so there we go. We've got that all set. We have our plan in place. Now let's make our bow. I make my bows with a bow maker, easy bow maker. And the way I started is I put a pipe cleaner down between the 2 pegs, all right? And then I build my bow from bottom to top. Now, our kit came with these 4 ribbons, but I'm going to add a few ribbons of my own. I like big bows, and I cannot lie. So I usually start with a 4-inch ribbon, and I want to bring in this one. I don't know if you remember, the sign had the word spring in it, which is kind of in a dark gray or black. Can you see? the word there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in this black and white behind as a starting point. I think that the black will play off nicely from the sign, as well as black just tends to, for some reason, it just makes your bow pop. It just adds something to the dimension. Now this is a beautiful bow, ribbon. You can see it's two-sided. So I'm going to start with this side, and my tails, I'm going to try to keep my tails. I'm still going to build the bow the same way, even though the bow is going to be on the bottom. I'm going to have longer tails on the bottom and short tails on the top. I think they call that a funky bow. But anyway, that's what my plan is. And I think I'm going to start with about a maybe 14-inch tail. Okay, put it in and twist it. Now this ribbon will help emphasize why we twist. All right, so we twist on the initial one because we want the back side of the ribbon to be facing up so that when we pull the loop over, the right side of the ribbon is now on top. Okay, so I'm going to make about an 8-inch, maybe a 7.5. No, let's make it an 8-inch. Move these away a little bit. An 8-inch loop. Now we're going to twist here in the middle. Push it down. Make an 8-inch loop on this side. All right, and this one, we're just going to compress this one. We're not going to twist it because we're done. We're only making 2 loops. And we want the correct side of the ribbon to be showing. So that's why we don't twist it at that last part. Here I'm going to cut off. I'm not sure if I'm going to dovetail this ribbon or if I'm going to curl this ribbon. Because by curling it, you can see that that other side comes up. So it kind of makes a pretty look to that bow. So I'm not quite sure which way I'm going to go with that, but for now we'll just keep it like this and figure it out when we're done making the bow. Now after the 4-inch, I'm going to use the 2-inch, 2.5-inch ribbons that came with the kit. Now if you don't have other ribbons in your stash, that's not a problem. You can make a beautiful bow with these ribbons that come with the kit. I just like to add a little bit more, and I have quite an extensive stash. So, okay, now told you I was going to teach you the dovetail. See how I just took the ribbon, fold it in half, and this is the fold. I'm going to cut from the fold to the point. And there you have it. There's the dovetail. Okay, so from this point on, I'm going to make X's with my loops and my tails. I started up with the loop on the bottom here, so I'm going to start with the loop on the top, the tail on the top up here. Let me say that again since I messed it up. The tail, I started with this tail on the bottom on the first ribbon. So my next ribbon, I'm going to put the tail, starting tail, at the top. All right, I made the twist, and then I'm going to put the loop in. This loop is going to be slightly smaller than this first loop, so that that first loop not only shows, but that's how we're going to just scale down our tails and our loops as we make this bow. Do the same thing here. Okay, this loop needs just a little bit more length. That is my 4-legged friend. I hope she's not going to disrupt us. Now I'm going to pull this tail down and cut it about the same length, and I'll dovetail this one. Okay, so what we're doing now, you'll see, is we're making an X with the tails and the loops. Each bow, each ribbon that we add after that is going to just fill in these next windows. Okay, so let's, instead of explaining it, let's show it to you. The next ribbon I'm going to use is going to be not the ribbon that came with the kit yet. I want to put this color ribbon in. Look at this ribbon. This ribbon is going to catch the blue from the mesh and the yellow. It's got some of the green in it. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous ribbon. I'm just going to put one strip through the middle of the bow just to add color and actually to kind of break up the two yellows that came with the kit. So all I'm doing is just putting in a strip like this. I'm just compressing it in the middle. I'll cut it off here and dovetail it. And this just gives a little bit more color and breaks up the two yellows that we'll be doing. Even though this is a yellow one as well, the pattern on it will help break up the two seemingly the same ribbons. The yellow, second yellow, does have white daisies on it, but I don't think you'd see those daisies from far away. So definitely up close you do. So let's dovetail this one. Okay, and we're going to start with the tail down here. See how we are rotating them? So we're going to put the tail in down here. We're going to twist it. All right, put the loop in. Again, this loop is about the same size as that first yellow one. Okay. You don't have to be exact on your bows. You don't have to, they're going to look beautiful no matter what. Now, I'm going to cut this tail here, dovetail it. Okay, and there's my X. Here's the first ribbon. All right, this one just is hanging out in the middle there, just to bring us a little color. But you can see that the yellows now have formed X's. All right. Now, believe it or not, I'm going to add another ribbon. I want to kind of bring in that blue. So I'm going to put a blue ribbon in the middle before we start with the 1.5 inch ribbons that came with the kit. So we're going to start with our tail up at the top, twist it. All right. This loop is just a little bit smaller. And we don't twist the last one, we just compress it. All right, now you can see that this ribbon here, I'm kind of pulling in the blue from that and hopefully tying it in when we see the mesh, kind of bring out the blue of the mesh. It's not the exact same blue, but it will work very, very nicely. Okay, now let's continue on with our ribbons that came with the kit. We have the gray one, the green one, and I'm going to add one more to that. So let's start with our gray one. It's kind of interesting because this gray one, you can see there's a gray in this ribbon here. So that black and gray down here doesn't stick out as much anymore. Okay, let's dovetail this end, fold it in half, cut, and then put it in. All right, let's make our X. This one we're going to twist. And this one we're going to compress. Okay. Alrighty. Now we have the green one left. The green and white polka dot. But I want to bring the black that's on the bottom up to the top of the bow. So I'm going to make a loop and tail with this black and white polka dot. And again, the reason I'm pulling the black in, aside from just giving it a little pop, There is the word spring in black or dark gray. You can't really tell, but this will help. Okay. I'm going to dovetail that one. And we'll put on our final ribbon, which is one that comes with the kit. Now, as I said before, if you just want to make a bow out of the 4 ribbons that came in the kit, that would be great. You would make multiple loops. Here, I'm just making 1 loop on each side. But if you were just using the 4 ribbons that came with the kit, I would make 2 of the same on each side. 2 of the same ribbon on the same side. Okay, this one starts down here. All right. We're going to twist here. Now, something different here. We're going to twist on this one as well, because I'm going to make another loop around the back side of the peg and through the peg, and then bring that ribbon down. What this does is this tiny little loop right here is going to hide the mechanics of our zip tie. We're going to tie this bow up with a zip tie, and having that little loop there will thread the zip tie through the loop, so that when the bow is complete you won't be able to see the zip tie because of that loop. Okay, so all I did again was I did twist after my second loop. Instead of compressing it, I did twist it and then come around here and I compressed the last one here. Okay, so I'm going to take this zip tie, all right? I'm going to make sure it goes underneath that very first, the pipe cleaner that I put in at the very beginning, all right? I'm going to bring this up through the bow, and then look at this. I'm going to go through that little loop, all right? I'm going to give it a little zip tie to catch some pressure, all right? Now you can lift up the bow, put your thumb in that little loop there, and all I'm doing is just tightening this zip tie. It's going to do the work of holding the bow together for me as I pull it off, because I've tightened it, all right? And now in the middle here, I just want to make sure that my zip tie goes down the middle of that trench or that little divot that is made by the pegs that were holding the ribbon in place. You can see it just stays in there, and then pull it as tight as you can. Cut off the zip tie, and let's fluff this bow. All right, so let's start on this side. We're going to keep this, the 4-inch ribbon, just going to put my hand in it, in the loop, and I'm just going to pull the tail down, okay? Pull it down. Now the next one we added was the solid yellow. The tail's up here, and the yellow loop is down here, so let's just pull them in different directions, loop and tail. We're going to pull this one is the next one, remember. We're just going to keep that one on line, right here, on line with the black and white. All right, but the next ribbon that we have in this is the yellow daisy. We're going to pull the loop one way, the tail the other. The blue is the next one. Pull the loop and tail in different directions. The gray is the next one. Pull that, the black, and finally the green. Okay, and you can see that that little loop is covering up that zip tie. Okay, now let's just get our bows, loops and tails where we want them to be. Gonna spread them out a bit. Give them life. Puff them up a bit. Let's puff up this yellow one. Okay, it's black. And they should just fill in the windows just perfectly. Each little space will have a loop. The tails will be at the top and the bottom. And there we go. Let's do it to the other side. Same thing, we're going to start with our black and white. We're going to keep our hand in it and pull the tail up to the top. All right. Then we're going to pull the solid yellow, tail down, loop up. And we're going to keep that printed yellow kind of in the middle. Then pull the yellow daisy ribbon. All right, now we're going to move on to our 1.5 inch ribbons, which we started with the blue one. Loop and tail go direct opposite. Then we'll do the gray. Loop and tail go the opposite. Then the black. And finally the green. You can see that my green is a little bit too big on this side, so I'm just going to pull this a little bit. And there you go. Okay, so now just puff up each of these loops, make them shine, give them their stage to shine on, and there we go. Now if you don't like how, I don't like those two black loops together, so I'm going to just pull this black loop down to the bottom. You're the boss. Do whatever you want to do with these. Once they're cinched together, you can do whatever you want. All right, so there's our bow. I'm going to adjust, maybe cut some of the tails when I get the bow in place. You'll see that sometimes the tails are too long, they're interfering with stuff. We'll just put it in the design first and then make that decision as we go. All right? Now let's bring our wreath back, move our ribbons over. And there we go. All right, before I put this in, I'm trying to think if I'm going to put the flowers in first or if I think we can put the bow in first and then we'll decorate with the flowers. So let's grab the two pipe cleaners. We're going to thread them through the mesh with our needle, just like we did before. And you may think, oh my gosh, I used a black pipe cleaner. Because it's on the bottom of our bow, you won't see a thing. You won't see it. It goes straight to the back. And there's no show. Doesn't appear anywhere on the front of the wreath. Okay, all I'm doing is similar to the sign, I'm feeding it through and making sure that when I pull them tight that they're straddling one of the rings below. Let me just take a quick look and adjust it because I missed, but I can adjust it pretty quickly. Now just pull your bow down into place. Give it a good, make sure it's centered. That's how you want it. So let's just tie it off below. Okay. And all I'm doing is just winding that excess tail of the pipe cleaner around the rim of the wreath frame, just to kind of keep it out of the way. Okay. Alrighty. So let's Get these bow how we want it. I'm going to stand up a little bit here. And make sure our tails are not messed up. Separate those a little bit so that they don't cover up the sign. See, I think our top ribbon tails are pretty good length. I don't think they're going to bother the sign too much. This one here, I was going to curl. Let's see what it looks like curled. Yeah, we can curl the bigger ribbon down here. All you do is just fold it in on top of itself. It just gives it a little bit of a slightly different dimension. All right, now let's see what our tails look like here, down below. Alrighty. I'm going to just trim these all up just a bit. Just a little bit. Take them all in maybe an inch or so. Green ones definitely, maybe 2 inches on that one, because that's our last ribbon. And last but not least, our black. There we go. All right. Now from here, let me show you some of the flowers that I have. I've gotten these all from Trendy. However, I don't know if they're still in stock. And in addition to that, I got some last year. So they may not be available this year. But Trendy has a wonderful, wonderful stock of things to find. So perhaps, if you can't find exactly what I'm using, you can find something very similar from Trendy. The first thing is I have some of these buttercup flowers that are perfect in the sign. This number is 62420YW. 62420YW. All right. I also have this daisy bush. It's full of yellow and white daisies. This number I did get from Trendy this year, so they probably have more of these left. This number is SB as in boy 8000YCM. SB as in boy 8000YCM. Okay. And then as a filler bush, I have this white berry bush. It has, not only does it have the little flowers on it, it has some berries and it has some greenery. So that's going to help green out the flower bed that we're going to plant here. This number is 73881. Again, that's 73881. All right. Now, again, if Trendy does not have these in stock, they'll have some type of filler bush that has this exact thing in it. So, and even if you don't find the exact same one I'm using, you can certainly find something there and fill it in. Or you don't even have to add another thing, because this is a very beautiful wreath as it stands right now. Okay, I'm going to just take a few minutes to cut up my flowers, set them there for us, and then I'll show you how I enhance this wreath. Okay, now you can see that I have half of the wreath kind of laid out how I want it. You know, daffodils grow upward, so I didn't want to put them out sideways from the wreath. I needed to have them growing up, all right? So what I did on this one is I made a bunch, kind of like, let me just pull this wreath. Let's just take it out of the way so I can show you clearly. All right, I took my bushes and I cut them in half so that I have the same number on each side. I just trimmed them right off the bush, okay? And what I did is I took the greenery, started with that. This is a pusher, so kind of push it up, all right? Then I laid my, you can see that out of all these daffodils, we have some tall and some short. So let's stagger the tall ones with, and all I'm doing is kind of layering them. All right. And I think I had the tall one actually on the inside. These are the three tall ones anyway, it doesn't matter, but I'm going to build the tall one. Let's push these leaves down a bit. There we go. The tall one, since I'm building on the left-hand side of the wreath, I want the tall one on the left-hand side, closest to the sign. And then we'll just kind of stagger them down from there. All I'm doing is kind of pushing these up so that the actual greenery, the fun part of the greenery, is all at the top. Same with this. Just pull them down. All right. And all we're doing is we're just adding everything. Let's put him in the back. He's got a fiddle fern on him. He needs to be in the back. See, this is a fiddle fern. So we're going to move that guy to the back, just so his fern is out that way. All right. So I hope I'm demonstrating this well enough for you. Then just kind of pile these, push it up. All right. And this is our last one here. Okay, so down here at the bottom, I'm just going to gather them up, zip tie them all together. Make sure I get all of them in there. Zip tie them together. Okay, we're going to cut this off. And I'm going to cut these stems down. Just because when I put it in the wreath, those are the pieces that are going to go, we don't need them long hanging out. Okay, so this, and yeah, I did get all of them. I thought one was loose, but it's not. Okay, let's bring our wreath back again. And do you remember the two zip ties that we, not zip ties, I apologize again, the ties that we did not put ribbon tails in. If you look under the bow, you see there's one right there. This bouquet is already in that one, and this bouquet that we just made, I'm going to use this zip tie here. Again, sorry with the zip tie. My mind is stuck on zip tie. I'm going to use this tie from the wreath to tie in this bouquet. Okay? And just for security, if I put the tie around the bottom, you can still pull it out. So I'm gonna feed the tie through the middle of the bouquet. Let's just make a middle here. Let's put one of those ties through that middle. Okay, just pull it down. Oh, this little guy didn't catch my zip tie. We can fix that with glue, not a problem. And I'm just using this other tie, this tie here, to twist it in. Okay? Now it's not going anywhere. It's not going to come out anyway. So now we just want to pull up our flowers so that they're kind of even. And then this tall guy will be, I'll glue him in. Okay, I'll glue him in. But what I like to do now is I'll just take a little hot glue. Just go right over that twist tie with all the stems in it. Okay, I'm just putting a glob of glue right over that twist tie that we just used, okay? It's kind of reinforcing it. The glue is hot enough, it'll melt all that PVC, that green PVC stuff that makes up the tie. Okay, and just set our bow back down. I did that exact same thing over here. Now, we just want to take and move our flowers, kind of bring them forward a little bit. Again, give them a little bit of life because they were just kind of stacked up there so that we could get the bouquet set right. And then this little guy has to be glued in. And I have my glue pot on. It's off camera, but I put some glue on the edge of that. And I'm going to just stick it down and make sure that it hits the, there we go. All right. And I like having these little things kind of encroach on the sign a little bit because it makes the sign more part of the whole decoration there. And I'm just going to spread these out. When I grew up, raised and lived in Chicago, and every Easter these little daffodils would pop up early, and then sure enough snow would come and frost them and kill them. It just always was a flower that had a tough life when I lived up in Chicago anyway. Okay, so let's just lay our bow back down. Now, I have those daisies yet to put in. And what I thought I'd do is just take and I'm going to take off the bottom leaf. And I'm just going to take with glue and add these throughout. All right? I have them separated so that there's the same amount on each side of this, for each side of this bow. But all you need to do is place them where you like them, where you think they'll fit. Okay. Leave the stem kind of long because you do want it to reach down, you know, as far as it can, like there. And this is the last one for this side. I think I'll just put it out here to give the bow a little bit of a... All right, so let's do the same thing on this side. Doesn't have to match exactly what in nature does. Nature grows, has a mind of its own, doesn't it? It grows how it wants. So we just want to sprinkle them through. Bring some tall ones up the back maybe. I'm going to take off this leaf here. You don't need two sets of leaves. And just kind of lift this up. Okay, as soon as this is considered a dry run, I'm just kind of going through. This one has a long stem that, there we go. I'm just kind of placing them. If I'm happy with how I place them, then I just go and pull them out and glue them real quick. I know that we need one over here on this side of the bow, and then one hanging down. So this one will be here, kind of parallel to that one, and then this one will be our one that hangs down a little bit underneath the bottom side of the bow to give it just a little bit more. So there you go. That is the wreath. I'll take the time to glue them in real quick, but this is how it's going to finish up. Just going to take and adjust all this, and I will go back now and glue those in individually. I do want to thank you very much for spending your time with me as I complete this kit, and I hope that you have as much fun putting your kit together. Or if you don't have this kit, maybe this inspired you to do an arrangement or a wreath similar to this. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And as always, look to Trendy Tree for some more supplies and great inspiration. Bye-bye.